This is redemption week. We are 6 weeks out and I'm showing up prepared today. Got the RVP bar we're going with, the oat flavor, and a little bit of pre-workout. I don't think that I've touched pre-workout since my competition back in October, but one thing that I'm realizing is with now only 2 heavy days for the week, we definitely have to make them count, so I can't have the excuse of being sort of just burnt out, feeling flat or low energy in these 2 workouts. And so we're making sure that we avoid that today. Last week was very much mediocre in terms of our lifts, and we're looking to turn that around today, so let's make this happen. The one thing I'm noticing is that this grip puts a little bit more pressure on the wrist, so. On my usual spot today, which is usually here, because I don't know who thought it was a good idea to just stack a bunch of junk in the way, so we're here. Nice. Okay, so that wasn't terrible, but I was also looking for a bit of an improvement in terms of the feel for 160 from last week to this week now, and it sort of kind of feels the same. And I think what's happening right now is because of that change of form that I did with the slightly narrower grip, the lockout is actually a tiny bit harder than it normally is. So I might actually just have to get used to what it feels like now to be able to lock out with my arms as close as they currently are. I guess at the same time, I probably need to flare the elbows a little bit just to get my elbows sort of out of the way of my chest as well. So we're gonna keep working on it. At the end of the day, we got time, I'm not worried. Let's just keep going. Okay, so that was our sub-maximal top set, which should have been a little bit easier than it was, but we're still getting acclimated to how the new form feels, so it is what it is. Now we have triples, so we're working up to a top set of 3. Let's see what we did last week, just for reference, so that I kind of know what we're looking to beat. 135 for a triple last week, so we need to smash that. 140 is our goal today. Let's go maybe a 110, 115 triple, so I know it's easy and I'm not wasting too much energy, and then we'll bump up to 140, see if we can knock that out. That'd be really solid if we can get that, because we want the volume right now, so let's do it. So if you follow me on short form, you may have seen some of the frameworks that I've been using to make these different exercises that we have for competition a bit easier. The goal is that we want to turn all of this into muscle memory, such that when we get onto the platform, we're literally just going through the motions that we've been doing in training over and over and over again. And so for pulls, which is gonna be pull up and chin up, I've come up with the grip method. So if you're not familiar, let me explain. So as we're working on building back our chin ups after the injury, one of the things that you may have noticed if you followed my content for any amount of time is the level of consistency that I have when it comes to the warm-ups, when it comes to the actual warm-up sets, and then the working sets that I perform in my training in itself. And if you want to become a very proficient athlete that sees consistent progress, the very best thing that you can do is have a system that is going to ensure that you do the exact same thing every time. That gives us the ability to fault isolate and to figure out where the deficiencies are in our actual lifts while not making silly mistakes that are going to slow us down and waste our time. And that's where the grip method comes in. So I created a framework, a simple acronym really, that is going to help to dictate the steps that we take every single time that we step into the gym to train pull-ups or chin-ups. And the reason being is because, again, if we have that consistency, it makes it so much easier to figure out where we are on the day and then allow us to scale our training to fit that. And so the thing is, why this matters, we're talking about position, we're talking about tension. At the end of the day, if we are going through the same positioning every single time that we're setting up for our chin-up or for our pull-up, we carry that over into the actual competition setting, which is when we really don't want to have to think about the different variables of our lift. We want to just execute at that point in time. And of course, tension matters, right? And so then if we just have an aspect of our checklist, if you will, that includes or reminds us to make sure that we have our full body tension here, then we're going to do it every single time. So let's talk about what the grip method actually is, the acronym that we have here. For G, we have gripped the bar properly. So a lot of athletes will use a very weak fingertip grip, especially for pull-ups and even sometimes for chin-ups as well. However, the best thing that we can do here here to get as much activation from our biceps, from our forearms, and also just shorten the range of motion of the lift itself, which is going to in turn help us lift a little bit more weight, is to use overgrip. And so what that is pretty much our process of getting as much of our palm on that bar as we possibly can. So rather than having our knuckles facing up in the air, we're going to end up with our knuckles facing somewhat more horizontal at that point in time. Once we have that, we have a solid grip, and from there we have a stronger pull as a result. For R, we have roll the box off of the weight. And so now we're talking about the setup that we are going to go through as we get into the process of being able to execute the lift itself. So what this looks like is taking the slow approach of guiding the weight out with our first foot, allowing the weight to settle, then bringing our second foot forward. And what this does here is it eliminates the chance of us developing a bit of swing from rushing into the actual setup. Because what happens is if you rush into the setup, you have swing. When it's time to execute the actual pull, it's going to throw off the timing of your pull and also just make it a little bit harder unnecessarily. So let's make sure that we have a nice controlled roll off of the box. And then the next thing that we want for I is our active hang. So we're going to initiate that active hang. We're going to do that by depressing our shoulders. So one of the biggest things that I see with a lot of athletes is that they confuse retraction and depression. So the easiest way to remember this is that depression is a vertical movement that needs to be set before the pull is initiated, and retraction is a horizontal movement that is going to be a result of you actually initiating the pull itself. So we don't want to start with retraction when we're initiating a pull. That's going to put us in a position that's less advantageous in terms of us generating as much force as possible. Rather, we want to sink as deep into our shoulders as possible, and then from there we can initiate the pull. Finally, we have P, which is pull to the target. So when I'm performing a chin-up or a pull-up, I like to always have my eyes directly on the bar, and I know that I am pulling until I can clear the bar with my chin. And so if we are to follow these simple steps every single time that we step into the gym and we train our chin-ups and our pull-ups, the results are going to be very similar, which allows us to see consistent progress over time. And then as I was mentioning, if we're not seeing consistent progress, it's a lot easier to figure out where our limitations are. Some of the common mistakes, as I was mentioning, is that retraction before initiating the pull-up. Again, you want to avoid that. Instead, we are depressing, pulling from there, and then retraction happens naturally as a result of that pull. We have no tension. If you're not clamping the weight with your feet, activating that lower body, activating the core, being able to maintain somewhat of a posterior pelvic tilt, which is that rotation of the hip and the tightness of the core, that's going to just help us just exert more force in the pull itself. And then finally, again, no setup. A lot of people will just use any sort of box. They'll just jump onto the pull-up bar and just start pulling away from there, and that is not going to get us the results that we want. Ultimately, this may seem like quite a few steps that you need to take, but at the end of the day, attention to detail is what is going to help us become championship athletes. So finally, why this matters, and you probably have surmised this at this point in time, but a better grip is going to mean more strength. We can exert more force, we have better control over our actual pull itself, and then as a result, our reps are better. So I go in depth with concepts like this all of the time on my Streetlifting University community. So consider joining, link is in the description. Now let's get back to the video and you'll be able to see how I apply this framework every single time. Kind of where I start to rush squat a little bit. So today we are being intentional about making sure that even though the weight is still easy, we need to take breaks because that fatigue builds up a little bit faster than you realize, and then you put some weight on your back, you get folded. We don't want that. There we go. That felt like a paperweight. Okay, not bad at that at all. 475 moved very smooth considering that last week We went in, tried 485 and failed. We don't need anything more than this. I definitely have like far more in the tank today, which is good. We're coming back and we feel a lot fresher today, which is exactly what we were looking for. This just kind of helps to encourage me, just like mentally, in a sense of just getting back into the mode of, okay, we're in prep and we're moving forward. So I don't need to ask for more. We just need to progressively make sure that we're loading the body bit by bit. And so now it's really real fun comes in. We got triples. And so we got to see what we want to move for triples today. About to start the very last set momentarily. One thing I was thinking about is the fact that I just do not respect my rest periods as I should. I should be resting between 3 to 4 minutes with heavy sets like this, and I am probably resting like 1 to 2 minutes, and then I'm on my feet at the same time while I'm resting. And so I'm gonna try to respect that a little bit for this final set, because this one's gonna be a little bit serious. So I think we're gonna make this move. This is not even a PR for me, but this will be a PR for the prep training block. I definitely want this one here. After like a flat week last week, every single rep that I'm doing actually does count, right? And so even if the weight does feel heavy right now, that's not indicative of how we're going to move weight on competition day. I do like seeing the numbers come together, you know, I'm sure everyone does, but this is like the proving ground essentially. It's like really getting to show what it is that I'm made of. So let's find out. Yes, sir. Very good. All right, that's the wrap on this session. I'd say that we have, at least for day one of the 2 heavy days of this week, we've redeemed ourselves so far. That was a very solid workout. Finally getting out of that mental rut especially. So we're gonna keep working through that. And hey, I will see you all on Friday, which is day 2. Let's go. Hey, what do you have for today? Heavy on muscle ups today, heavy on dips. Let's get this session going. Our aim is to really nail that transition between the first and the second rep. Yeah. Feel good today, but we're not making the mistake of skipping the fuel because it drops off that energy very quickly. So we got oat bar today. I need to make sure that I'm staying as close to the bar as possible and really curling over like we need to. Hey, that was not bad. This is our first session back with sleeves on. That we're going to be making about like a 12-pound jump, but we can clean up, get a clean 115 today. I'm going to be really happy about that because it's putting me right exactly where I want to be as we have our goal of 120 for the competition. So let's make this happen. That moved a lot smoother than I thought it was going to. We're gonna watch that back just to make sure that everything was to depth, but I'm pretty sure we knocked that out of the park. Okay, I just watched that back and we have room to play. So I don't know, we may be talking about a little bit more than 120 in this competition. I'm just saying we're looking pretty solid. Right now, I'm still going to be easing into the sleeves. So for back downs, I'm gonna use my sleeves, but then for the pin dips that we have after that, I'm gonna take them off because I really wanna make sure that I'm building up as much strength as I possibly can without the assistance gear. And then like, we're off to the moon from there. Shahid Bryant just got 225 for 3. I said to myself when I was coming in the gym today, we gotta go back to back. Let's go. Woo. There's more in the tank, come on. So I don't know if I've already explained the benefit of pin dips. What we're doing is we're starting at the point in which we're pretty much at competition or below competition depth. This would be below depth for me, and from there, we're driving through. And the idea now is that when we start up at the top and we go down to the bottom of our rep, we have a bit of elastic energy essentially that is being stored in our muscles that we're using to explode back up. When we start from the bottom with no brace, at this point in time, we have no elastic energy, and so it's all raw power, and so that's exactly what we're looking to build here. Let's go. Proud of myself for performance today and for this entire week. I think we may have hit a PR training total in this week, so I'm very happy about that. And the nice thing is that these are all with sub-maximal numbers that we're going for, so definitely excited to see what we can put together moving forward.